I want to welcome you to the section 1 of this knowledge area, the project resource management. So here we go. Now, starting with an overview of the plan resource management. The plan resource management marks the initiation of effective project resource management. All right, here you're going to be learning how to comprehensively plan and outline how your resources will be identified, how you're going to define them, how you're going to categorize them, how they will be acquired, how you're going to utilize them, okay, and then how they are going to be managed throughout the life cycle of your project. And this is very, very important, okay, not just at the beginning of the project or at a particular time or point in the project, but throughout the life cycle of the project, irrespective of the timeline, all right, or the duration of the project. So you're gonna have to make this plan to be comprehensive enough to last throughout the project. So this section serves as a strategic foundation for aligning project needs with available resources, and it ensures a comprehensive and well-defined approach to resource management. Okay, now by the end of this section, you should be able to understand the objectives of plan resource management, and then we'll also define what are the inputs, the tools and techniques that you use, as well as the outputs of this process. And then lastly, you're going to understand how this process contributes to the overall success of your project. Okay, so there we go. Now, what are the objectives of the plan resource management? The primary objectives of the plan resource management include define resource requirements. Okay, so now you're going to have to understand and articulate the types and quantities of resources required for successful project execution. Okay, so what type of resources do you require? Are they human resources? Are they materials? Are they equipment? Information? What type of resources exactly? And in what quantities do you require each of these resources? Okay, so next you're going to categorize the resources. Categorization. And this involves classifying resources based on their type, skill sets, and this one is talking about the human aspect now, the human resources. Okay, we'll talk about skills. Of course, you know, that has to do with the human beings, right? And then also the availability. When would they be available, all right, for the particular activity that you want them to perform, all right, and for how long, all right? Now, availability has to also do with, you know, whatever resources. For example, if you're going to be hiring a particular machine or a particular equipment, when will it be available? Okay, for how long will it be available, right, for the particular activity that you're going to be using it? Okay, and then also enabling better planning and allocation. So this information will enable you to plan better and also to be able to allocate these resources better. Okay, when you understand their availability, their skill sets, as well as their types, right? So develop resource management plan. So the objective also has to do with developing the resource management plan, all right? So this has to do with creating a detailed plan outlining how resources will be acquired, developed, utilized, and managed during the project. Okay, so these are the primary objectives for this particular sub process. Okay, so when you have this in perspective, then you are ready to hit the ground running. All right. Now let's look at the inputs in this particular process. Now the first is the project management plan. Okay, so this provides insights into the project scope, the schedule, and the objectives. All right, and this will help in guiding you through resource planning. Okay, so if you're going to be able to plan your resources, all right, effectively, then you need to understand the project scope. All right, where does it begin, where does it end? You need to understand the schedule, the duration, the timeline, as well as the overall objectives of the project itself. Okay, so next is the enterprise environmental factors, and these are external factors that influences resource planning. Okay, so you have to have these at the back of your mind. And what are they? They include the market conditions as well as regulatory requirements. All right, market conditions will definitely affect resource acquisition. Is going to affect availability. All right, so talking about affecting resource acquisition, we're looking at maybe the costs, the price, all right, and as well as inflation, all right, will also affect these things. And then regulatory requirements also, these are the things you have to consider before you start putting your resources together. If there are regulations that have to be complied with, okay, in terms of human resources, okay, or even materials, for example, labor laws, all right, labor regulations, all right, union regulations, okay, in the various industries, you have to consider what regulations are in place. If you're going to be getting laborers or workers, you have to consider regulations. For example, in Nigeria now, we have what we call the local content regulation. All right, in other words, if you have a project going on in a particular area, you have to ensure that at least a good percentage of the human resource that you're using for that project is from within that particular region, all right, or that's local government or area. You understand? So you can't just go get expatriates, or yeah, you could do that, but then, like I said, you can't just have the whole people working on the project to be foreigners. All right, that's what I mean. You have to have people from that local area, all right, also involved in the project, and a good number of them. You understand? So that has to do with the regulation. Okay, so if you're also using equipment or materials, for example, if these materials are going to have harmful effects on people, all right, so you have to contend with the regulatory agencies that has to do with that as well. All right, the environmental agency, of course, they have those regulations in place. They have to get involved in testing. All right, if there's going to be harmful impact from the materials, they want to know what kind of impact, all right, is going to have on the environment, on the people, and to what extent. What is the magnitude? What is the significance? So you're going to be talking about things like environmental impact assessment, okay, and when all that is complied with, all right, satisfied, then of course you can now get the go ahead. Okay, so next we have organizational process assets, and these are internal guidelines, templates, and historical data that will aid in resource management planning. All right, so moving on, let's now look at the tools and techniques that we use in planning our resource management. So first is expert judgment. Now, as the PM, you're gonna have to leverage the insights of subject matter experts in resource planning. All right, of course, you as a project manager, you're more or less like an administrator and a coordinator. All right, so from your team, you're going to need insights as to what resources that you will be needing for this project. All right, and then all other information that you require. So we also have data gathering. All right, and this has to do with collecting information through brainstorming sessions, interviews, or focus groups to identify resource need. Now, something important for you to note in this focus groups are simply, little groups of people who are who will be involved in looking into a particular subject, all right, or probably who will be making use of the deliverable or the output of a particular activity. All right, so we bring these people together just to get their opinion, okay, about the particular product or what the process that is going to lead to that particular product. All right, so when you're putting these people together, it's important that you have the right set of people as focus groups. All right, in other words, people who are have been involved with that particular product or process in the past. Okay, so they have some level of knowledge and or experience in that particular area. So you're not going to be putting together the wrong focus groups. Okay, that's going to give you extraneous information, all right, that you may not be able to utilize at the end of the day. So that's important. Now, next is interpersonal and team skills. So you're gonna need this. You're gonna need this a whole lot, and you need it to be able to communicate effectively, negotiate, and even in conflict resolution. All right, to align resource planning with project goals. So interpersonal skills is very, very important, since you're going to be having this group of people that you're going to have to get them to work together. All right, so interpersonal and team skills is very important. You're going to have to be a team player. They also are going to have to be team players and also have interpersonal skills, all right, if they're going to be able to work together. Next is analytical techniques, and this involves the employment of analytical tools such as resource optimization models to enhance the accuracy of resource planning. So analytics is going to come in here. So you're going to be able to analyze various things, all right, and to be able to come up with useful inferences and conclusions that are going to be helpful in your project. Okay, so next is the outputs. All right, what are the outputs that we need to be looking at in this plan resource management sub process? So the first and foremost outputs is the resource management plan. Okay, this is a comprehensive document outlining how resources will be estimated, acquired, developed, and managed throughout the project. Okay, so it's going to be serving as a guiding framework for resource related information. So the resource management plan is the document or the working document that you're going to require, and this will help you in estimating the resources you need, acquiring the resources you need, how you're going to develop them and manage them throughout the life cycle of your project. So you also be getting team charter. Okay, initially we looked at project charter, but this one now is team charter, and this defines the roles, responsibilities, and the reporting structures within the project team. All right, contributing to efficient resource utilization. Okay, so this is more like a governing policy for your project. All right, call it an organizational chart or an organogram for your project, right? Where you're going to be having different roles, who reports to who, what positions are they, and so on and so forth. All right, so I also have roles and responsibilities. Okay, now from the team charter you're going to get this, all right, even though you can have it in a separate document. All right, and this document clearly outlines the roles and responsibilities of the team members regarding resource management, and it's going to help you avoid ambiguity. All right, clashing of positions or duplication of efforts. Okay, and that is very important because you don't want to get more resources than you require, especially when it has to do with human resources. All right, and if you have a particular subject matter, all right, that you can get one person, okay, in that particular area, and then you have another area that you also need to cover, and this particular person can cover that area as well, then that should be something worthy of consideration. All right, so what do I mean by this? Let's say, for example, you're getting a civil engineer, all right, in a construction project. For example, you have a civil engineer, and then you also need an architect. All right, so if the civil engineer can second as an architect, then you don't need to be getting an architect again. All right, so he can work as a civil engineer, of course, and then also work as the architect. All right, so I think that will also help in managing your costs. Okay, as far as your resources are concerned. All right, so that's it for the outputs. Now, what are the key takeaways from the planned resource management? Firstly, strategic alignment. So this section emphasizes aligning resource planning with overall project strategy. Okay, understanding project goals and objectives is crucial for identifying the right resources. Okay, so you need to understand the goals and the objective of your project. So when you understand that, then you'll be able to identify what resources exactly do you need to be able to achieve these goals and objectives. So understanding the project goals, the scope, is very, very important. Okay, and it's going to help you in strategically aligning everything throughout the project. Comprehensive resource planning, that's another key takeaway from this section. Resource planning goes beyond just head count. It involves categorizing resources based on skills, availability, and specific project needs to ensure a comprehensive approach. All right, so very important. Next is utilization of expertise. The expertise of individuals, especially subject matter experts, plays a significant role in resource planning. Leveraging expert judgment enhances the accuracy and relevance of resource plans. Okay, so just like we mentioned before, you're gonna have subject matter experts, okay, whether they're playing a single role or they're playing, multiple roles in the project. You need to get that expert judgment that's gonna help you in making your resource plans. Okay, you need to leverage on that. That's very important. And last but not the least, data-driven decision making. Now, the use of data gathering techniques such as brainstorming and interviews facilitates informed decision making in resource planning. Analyzing relevant data contributes to a more accurate resource estimation. So, as the project manager, you're going to be needing a whole lot of decision making, and to make good decisions you're going to need good information. All right, you need to have accurate information that is very relevant, all right, as well as your project is concerned. Okay, so you're going to need data, all right, and accurately analyzing those data to draw critical inferences for your project. So continuing with the key takeaways, we also have interpersonal skills. Okay, so you're going to be considering interpersonal skills, like I mentioned before. Interpersonal and team skills, including effective communication and conflict resolution, are vital for successful resource planning. Clear roles and responsibilities contribute to smoother resource management. So your interpersonal skills as well as that of your team matter a whole lot. Okay. Resource optimization models. Analytical techniques including resource optimization models provide a quantitative basis for decision making. These models enhance the efficiency of resource planning and allocation. So like we mentioned before, decision making is a very critical part of your work as a project manager. All right, and for you to make effective decisions, you're going to be needing accurate and relevant information. Okay, and to have that, you're going to be needing techniques, analytical techniques like the resource optimization models. Okay, so this is very important. So next is documentation as a guide. The resource management plan generated in this section serves as a comprehensive guide for resource related decisions throughout the project lifecycle. It ensures that the project stays on track with its resource needs. Okay, so that's important as well. Now, by internalizing these key takeaways, you'll be well equipped for effective resource planning. Okay, and this is definitely going to ensure that your projects are adequately resourced for successful execution. All right, I believe you got all the key takeaways and you are set for effective resource planning and successful project execution. Okay, so that's it for the plan resource management. I'll see you in the next section. Cheers.